What's going on YouTube? So the full-size SUV segment has long been a place where brands show off their best luxury, tech, and capability. However, the Nissan Armada has fallen behind the times since the last generation came out. That all changes now though, with this brand new Armada, which was designed from the ground up to truly challenge the segment greats like Tahoe and Expedition. So did this just take down those models for less money? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now starting out here with the exterior design. Now, obviously you are going to see quite a few differences from the previous generation and also some similarities. So one of the things noteworthy up here in the front is this grille. You can see this is the latest evolution of kind of the V-motion grille. It doesn't have that chrome trim around it, so you have less of a V shape and now have more horizontal elements to emphasize the overall width. Now you have some chrome accents through there, of course, and some silver down here on your lower fascia. And then let's talk about our lighting. This is a very bold change. As you can see, you've got a stacked crystal LED design. This is standard on all versions of this model. You have this really distinct double C-shaped daytime running light and turn signal indicator. Plus, most of your upper models are going to come standard with these LED fog lights as well. Now that we're squatted down here, I also want to mention that this is available now for the very first time with an adaptive air suspension. That's going to be standard on Pro 4X and the Platinum Reserve trim. Obviously, that's going to give you some height adjustments. And if we're talking about the Pro 4X, you also have some additional capability in terms of your approach angle as well as skid plates throughout the vehicle. Now, as we move on to the wheels, your options will begin at an 18-inch alloy on the base model. You have 20-inch alloys for all your middle trims, and then when you get to this very top end, Platinum Reserve, that's where you get these 22-inch alloy wheels. As you can see, you've got a nice contrast finish. I think they look very nice overall. You have this accent here with your vent detail. The mirror is going to be finished in a gloss black. And in terms of your features, you will have standard blind spot monitoring on all models. Once you get to the Platinum trim level, that's where you'll unlock the other three features of heating, power folding, and auto dimming on the driver's side.
Now moving on to the side of the new Armada, you're going to notice that this is a big SUV. You would expect that. An overall vehicle length is about 209 inches. Now that's very similar to the outgoing Armada, but this is actually riding on a completely new platform that is shared with the Nissan Patrol. Now as far as some of the other design touches, you'll notice that we have chrome here on our lower window surrounds, special Armada branding here, and then we also have the availability of getting a two-tone roof option on the Pro 4X trim levels and above. Now as we head around to the rear design, I have to say I absolutely love the way this new Armada looks. Honestly, I like it better than the QX80, and you'll see that really tough design continue here in the back. Now as far as some of the design features, you will notice that we have a hidden wiper under the spoiler here, and since we have a Pro 4X or a Platinum Reserve, we're going to have the full-length taillight design. So that's going to go all the way across the back here with that nice accenting, so you'll notice that at nighttime. And then as far as our taillights are concerned, those are also going to be full LED. All of your accenting, your reverse light, and your turn signal are all LED. That's standard on all models. Now as we drop down to the lower fascia, once again a very squared off rugged design, and you'll notice that we do have a very impressive tow rating for this new model, 8,500 pounds, so that's going to be better than a lot of the rivals. Certainly a very impressive tow rating. You also have an exposed exhaust outlet over on the right side. Now this new Armada is a family vehicle, and Nissan knows that, so they're actually going to be including all of your active safety features as standard equipment. Now there are some additional features that you can unlock as you go up the trim levels, including ProPilot 1.1, and there is even an optional ProPilot 2.1 system, which does allow for some hands-free highway driving. That is optional even here on the Platinum Reserve trim level. But speaking of the Platinum Reserve, there is a beautifully crafted cabin that I can't wait to show you. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now let's move on to the interior. As always, we'll take a quick look at the key fob first. This is Nissan's typical key fob. They updated this about a year ago. You do have standard smart entry as well as remote start on all versions. Now walking up to the vehicle, there's not a sensor behind the handle, so you just press that button there, that will unlock the door and fold the mirrors outward. And I'll invite Mason to pan on inside to this beautiful new interior. So if you're an owner of the previous generation, this is really a night and day difference, not just in terms of luxury, but also technology. However, before we get into those specific details, I want to start off by talking about our interior material and color selections. So this is a vehicle that's going to begin with leatherette seating. However, once you move up the trim structure and get to the Platinum or the Platinum Reserve, that's where you'll get the interior you're looking at right now. It's a beautiful quilted design. Of course, a real leather. It really looks fantastic. Feels super nice to the touch as well. And you've got a lot of color contrast stitching details inside of those stitches as well. This interior color is known as Almond. It is exclusive to just the Platinum or the Platinum Reserve trims. You can also get a brown and a black color option if you prefer. Now, in terms of your seats, these are going to be 12-way power adjusting with 4-way lumbar support. On this very top Platinum Reserve, we have the exclusive feature of power massage that's borrowed directly from the Infiniti QX80 model. And then over here on our door trim, we've got 2-person memory seats on all but the base model. But without further ado, let's go ahead and climb inside. Now, getting inside is very easy thanks to the fact that the air suspension drops down, and we also do have running boards. But notice that they are not power running boards. Most of the competition does make that available on the top spec models. It's unavailable on this entirely. But as I close up the door there, let's go ahead and get into the rest of the cabin materials. So beginning over here with our door trim, you'll notice that all the areas you touch are covered in a leather material. It's matching with those seats and also has stitching details throughout. As we move to the upper dashboard, this again is going to be finished in a leatherette. More leatherette through here, and you'll also notice in the center section, this version comes with a piece of real open pore wood. This here just kind of looks like wood, and then we have more leatherette along the console for our knee to rest against. It's a very, very solid, well-built interior that isn't quite up to the QX80, but it's very similar actually. Let's go ahead and fire it up with a standard push-button start. Now that it's fired up, let's dive into some individual details of the interior. I'll begin here with our gauge cluster. Now, obviously, this is part of a dual display setup. I'll talk about the other side a little bit later, but our upper end versions are going to come with a 14.3-inch gauge cluster over here. It is digital and fully reconfigurable depending on different drive modes and different things like that. Graphics are really good, and also if you want a head-up display, that is going to be offered as an option on your top trim levels. Now, as we pull back to the steering wheel, we've got a really nice steering wheel design. This is basically straight off the QX80. It does have that center spoke here, but other than that, it has that same really luxurious leather, beautiful covering on the airbag cover. It's power, tilt, and telescoping, as well as heated on all but the base model. Rain-sensing wipers are standard on all trims. Now, let's get into interior storage. So, obviously, this is a big SUV. You want to see quite a bit of storage. When I pop this open, you have a small tray that you can get out of the way, and when you move that out of the way, you've got a really deep console area. It's probably not as big as what you get into something like a Tahoe, but it is really nicely felt lined. And then when we look up in front of that, you've got a wireless phone charging pad hiding underneath of here and 2 cup holders. But kind of the bigger news is the fact that we now have this center pass-through. So this is going to be a very versatile space you can use for a lot of different things. And that's going to come courtesy of the fact that we have this electronic shifter. So this push button style is very compact. You're just going to press that D for drive, of course. You have paddle shifters on the steering wheel as well. And then when I press the R and go into reverse, this will pull up our 360-degree camera system. So this is a very advanced camera system. You have a lot of different choices that you can choose from in terms of your views. So when I press into the camera button here, I can cycle between many different items. One of the cool things about this is that it has the ability to go into a transparent hood view, which will actually kind of give you this all-encompassing view over top of this large hood in case you're coming up close to an obstacle or something like that. So just to give you an example of what that looks like, here's the 3D view. It's really good graphics on board. I also press into this one, and you'll notice once I get that full view, what I can do is press this. That actually blows it up across both of these displays. So check that out. I mean, that's a really, really cool view. It's called Invisible Hood for a reason, because it just makes it look like the hood isn't even there. And that's a feature just straight from the high-end QX80. Now, as we take a look down here, this is something that is different from the QX80, and Mason and I think this might actually just be an improvement, because instead of a touchscreen for your climate controls, we have physical controls exclusively. This is a 3-zone automatic setup. You've got these really nice toggles to adjust your temperature up and down. Fan speeds right there. You also have heated and ventilated seats and your heated steering wheel controls. Again, all that is just physically available to you at a touch. Above that, you have a physical volume knob. And of course, here on our upper examples, this is going to give you the high-end 12-speaker Klipsch audio system. Let's go ahead and give that a sample right now. I have to say, very impressed by the sound quality of this system. This is setting at about half of the speakers from the QX80. That being said, I don't notice a huge difference between it. Obviously, you don't have the speakers in the headrest, but it's still a really, really solid sounding sound system. And by the way, that's available, or standard, excuse me, on SL and above. Now I'll cycle this camera off here and get back to our infotainment system so that we can take a look at this. This side is also going to be 14.3 inches. You've got very high-end graphics. As you can see, just besides for that little line there, they're basically merged into one seamless display. This is a new infotainment software for Nissan, so you'll notice that you have good graphics, high performance. You also have Google Apps built in, which I think is very critical, so you can go into Google Maps right here natively into the system. Also, you have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities. Taking a look up top here, we've got an auto-dimming mirror. This is also going to be a digital camera rear view mirror, and your HomeLink remotes are down at the bottom of that. And then lastly here, I would just go ahead and slide back our sunshade for the panoramic sunroof.
Now let's dive into the rear seats of this new Armada, because this, of course, is a big SUV and you need a lot of space for your family to come along in the journey. Now, I just want to go ahead and start by talking about those legroom figures. We're sitting at about 39 inches of legroom, about 38 inches of headroom, which does mean that this is going to be a little bit smaller than something like a Tahoe, but not by a significant margin. And as you can see, I'm 5'9". This seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8", and I still have plenty of room. I'm not worried at all about space because we have about 9.5 inches of leg room with those seat adjustments. My feet can slide up underneath of the seat. And speaking of the seat, it does slide forward and back a very good distance to maximize third row room, second row room, whatever is going to matter most to you. Additionally, the seats do recline a really good distance. Now, speaking of the seats, you'll notice that we have captain's chairs on this model. Now, one of the great things about the Armada is that you're going to have available bench seating on every version. So if you want that maximum seating configuration, Nissan does offer that as an available choice. So that's a really nice thing. You get the standard bench seat on the Pro 4X and SV trim levels, and you cannot get captain's chairs, but most of the other versions will also allow you to get captain's chairs as well. When you choose captain's chairs, you'll notice that we have 2 cup holders here in the center, 2 USB ports, and a little storage cubby behind that. And as far as other features are concerned, we have our own climate controls here in the second row for the 3-zone setup. Drew failed to mention this, but we do also have biometric cooling on the high-end Armada model, so it will actually use an infrared sensor in the cabin, to measure your body temperature and adjust depending on how hot you are. So say you get in from a soccer practice, you're really hot here in the back, it will actually automatically adjust the temperature for you. As far as other features, we have heated rear seats. That's going to be standard on Platinum and above. No ventilated rear seats, 2 USB-C ports, as well as a 12-volt outlet. Now, as far as over there on the door trim, it's going to be nicely done. No rear window sunshade, so I'm a little disappointed in that, but we do have a lot of leatherette covering through here and also quite a bit of bottle storage, as you can see. But I know you guys are curious to see the third row, so let's dive into that. As far as this area is concerned, they've made it pretty easy to get back here. You just grab this little handle. That's actually going to tilt the seat and allow it to slide out of the way. One of the important things is that the back does not move, so you should be able to keep a child seat installed. That's a nice, useful feature for those of you that are parents. No power second row, unlike the QX80 though. And let me go ahead and climb back here into the third row of this new Armada. Now, as far as this area is concerned, wow, what an improvement over the previous generation model, and what a fantastic third row. We're sitting at about 33 inches of legroom, about 36 inches of headroom. Like I mentioned, I'm 5'9". This seat is actually slid all the way back in its tracks, and I'm still looking at 4.5 inches of knee room. That is fantastic. My feet can slide up underneath of the seat, and the thigh support is really fantastic here in the third row. Now, as far as some features, let's dive into that. We have 3 seats back here, so your maximum capacity is, of course, 8 people. If you get the bench seat in the second row, or 7 passenger, as you see today. And I think they're actually wide enough to fit 3 people back here pretty okay. Now, as far as other features, we have a USB-C port on each side, as well as the ability to power recline. So as you can see, I have my seat reclined in the maximum distance here. I do want to point out, no heated third row is offered on the Armada, unlike the QX80, but you do still keep the vents right here in the headliner. Now, as far as how this rates on our third row rating scale, I'm going to say that this is definitely fit for adults. Now let's walk up to the tailgate. Now, as long as you choose an SL trim level or above, you will have a power tailgate. Additionally, you do have the foot activation as you move up the trim structure. And let's talk about overall cargo space for this new Armada. This is once again an area that has been quite improved for this new generation. We're sitting at about 20 cubic feet behind the third row of seats. If you fold those seats down, 56 cubic feet is what you can expect, and has a maximum 97 cubic feet. Now, for those of you familiar with the segment, you'll know that is actually significantly larger than something like a Toyota Sequoia. It is going to be less than the Tahoe, though, so keep that in mind, by about 20 cubic feet. Now, as far as features are concerned, I'm happy to tell you that you do have quite a few. If you choose an SL trim level or above, that's going to give you the power folding third row. It's a simple one press of the button, and that's going to go ahead and fold your third row down. One more press, and that will actually allow you to fold your second row of seats as well electronically without having to go up there in the second row. And it does give you a completely flat loading floor, which Nissan was bragging about. Now, this is a Car Confections review after all, so let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. Now, from Drew's 5'8" driving position to the rear of the cargo area, you can expect about 87 inches of length, which is quite good. From behind the second row, about 48 inches. From behind the third row, that will be a little less at about 16 inches. It's the overall width. That is going to be really nice, 50 inches wide, and overall height at the shortest point is still over 32 inches tall. So definitely could fit a lot of good stuff in this Armada. If we lift up the floor, there's a tiny bit of extra space underneath of here, and then you do have a spare tire, and that's going to be integrated underneath of the bumper here. I do want to point out the air suspension will actually go ahead and lower when you open the cargo area, so it makes loading things in quite a bit easier.
Now we popped the hood so we can talk about what is under the hood. It's a big difference from the previous generation. So we no longer have that 5.6 liter V8. Instead, we have moved to a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6. This is part of the VR family that is loosely related to the engine in the GTR. Now, in terms of your power output, it has improved substantially over that previous V8. So you're looking at 425 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque, so that torque figure in particular is way more than the previous generation, and you have 25 more horsepower than the previous model. Now, there is a little bit of a power discrepancy versus the QX80. It's down 25 horsepower versus that model, and that's simply because this is using regular fuel instead of premium fuel that model has. Now, other elements to speak about, we have a 9-speed automatic transmission on board. You have standard rear drive or available 4-wheel drive. And in terms of our fuel economy, we don't have the official EPA estimate, but we're expecting it to be exactly the same as the QX80, which would put this 4-wheel drive model at 17 mpg combined. Now, like Mason mentioned, this model is on an all-new platform. It's more structurally rigid than before. It has an adaptive air suspension. And we can't wait to show you how all these things work out on the road. However, you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer because we are under a driving impressions embargo. We wanted to go ahead and show you this beautiful new SUV and all the features and the new interior out here in the daylight. But we will have to hold off on those driving impressions for just a little bit longer. You'll see down there below me the date. That is when we'll be able to share with you our driving impressions. We can't wait to do that so you can get that full picture of this new Armada.
And now let's discuss pricing, because we do have official pricing from Nissan. If you watched our previous Armada video, we were just guessing, but I'm happy to confirm the prices now. So $56,520 is our base price for the SV two-wheel drive. Of course, four-wheel drive is an additional about $3,000, so keep that in mind. As you move up the trim structure, the prices, of course, rise. You end in this Platinum Reserve, which starts at $76,990. The four-wheel drive version is $10 under 80 grand. And if you have all the options like what we've done on this model plus destination charge, you're going to be sitting at about $84,000 to $85,000, which yes is a lot of money, but in this segment the prices are very expensive. So this actually is undercutting a lot of the competition by a significant amount. The Sequoia is more expensive, the Tahoe significantly more expensive as well. Now, if you're looking to buy a Nissan Armada or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a car is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. Now, first up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Nissan Armada's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 50.56% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 16.4%. Now, it's worth noting that is a pretty much industry average resale value by percentage. However, it is going to be significantly lower than other brands such as Toyota, as well as a little lower than Chevy.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several trustworthy sources on reliability and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Nissan is very close to the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values or reliability data, as well as our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, we appreciate you watching this Nissan Armada review. I do want to point out availability before we conclude here. Nissan actually says this is available now. This should be rolling out to dealerships pretty much as we speak. So you won't have to wait too much longer if you're looking to buy a new Armada. Now, that's where we're going to leave off on part 1 of our Nissan Armada review. If you enjoyed watching, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get the latest car reviews such as this, and you're also going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel. I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, because you make this all possible, getting us invited to events like this. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.